I put the spotlight on your city. See the superstar. Hollywood to Hollywood. Girl, you look good. Yeah, they hollering, baby. I keep modeling, baby. ATLD. I put the spotlight on your city. Carolina, Philly. I put the spotlight on your city.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spotlight of the City. I'm your host, Stan Long, a.k.a. Mr. Motivation. And guess what? My co-host, shout out to Dana Dane. She's under the weather. Sorry, all our prayers need to go out to Dana Dane. She is under the weather, and I'm really missing her today. But guess who I have sitting in as not only my guest, but my co-host? Let it go. Mr. Tony Suggs, a.k.a. The Champ, a.k.a. The Beast. What's going on, Tony?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Before we get into the interview, I want to say Happy Father's Day to you and all the other dads out here. We don't get much days. I know we don't. Yo. So I didn't even know it was Father's Day coming up this weekend. I just found it out. Did you know that?
Yeah, because I'm in the church and they announce it and we make sure that fathers get special treatments.
Right.
Because we need to recognize men, especially the real men that stand up and do and take care of those fatherly responsibilities these days. Because there's the lack of men that really stand up and play that role and do their part. So we got to recognize them and give us that one day.
That's all they give us. So Mother's Day come around, it's flowers, it's commercials, it's infomercials, there's all kind of stuff going on. Dads, we don't get so much, so I wanted to make sure that I plugged you guys in. All the dads out there that's doing your thing, all the dads that's out there really representing, because we don't get the credit. I know we don't, but I'm gonna be a little personal. I want to shout out my son Seth today on the show. I have a son named Seth that I'm in a custody situation with, so hopefully you guys will pray for me on that situation. And my son is very important to me, and this weekend is really gonna be a little tough because it's a bittersweet situation when you don't quite have it the way you want it with your children. So everybody that's out there, that's moms especially, if you have a child and the dad is whatever he is, if he's a good dad, never mind a good father, a person, if he's a good dad to the child, please allow this child to be a part of the father's life. Because a lot of times what I'm witnessing is a lot of mothers are out here bitter, so to speak, or they have their own personal issues. And what they're doing is taking it out on the child by not allowing the dad to see the child. So I'm just pleading for you guys to just, if I could just reach one person today with my voice today to say, come on. Okay, he's behind on child support. I get that. He is not good with you as a mom or as a woman. He doesn't handle you the right way. I get that. But if he handles his child the right way and he has something to bring to the table for his child, please allow that dad to be just that, even at the cost of your feelings and how you think people might interpret it, because every child, a daughter and a son, needs to have both parents participate in their life. What do you think about
Correct.
that, Tony?
I agree with you 100% because both parents in that child's life makes and help produce a healthier child, because a dad is teaching that boy something, that girl something. It's teaching that boy how to grow up and be a man, how to be responsible, how to take care of his family, how to be that man that God put him here to be, or to grow up to be, a protector, a provider, and a lot of women go around saying, watch this, boom, boom, hit the child in the chest, the little boy in the chest with a two-piece, say, I'm his daddy and his mama. I mean, you as mama is impossible for you to be the dad, and so you are hurting the child by not letting that child spend time with his father, especially if his father a worthy father.
Right.
Now,
we're not talking about dads who just wilding out and got your kids riding in the car while you doing drive-bys and crazy. I'm talking about real solid dads that stand-up men, and it's a lot of stand-up men out here, and salute to them. This weekend is special. I salute all of the men who out here who really are dads, and I mean busting their tails, picking the kids up from school, volunteering for programs, going to the assemblies, talking to the teachers, being really involved as a parent. Like, it's a
Picking
lot
up,
of
dropping
us.
off,
Picking up,
PTA
dropping
meetings,
off. You know what I mean, Tony?
football practice,
Football,
basketball practice,
basketball.
you know.
Dads are
Now, look,
doing these things these
yeah.
days. I know that women
And we don't
also
get no
do
credit
it.
for it,
Don't
you
get me
know?
wrong. Salute to the women as well. I'm not down in that, but this is Father's Day
Right.
coming up. So I'm speaking directly to the fathers, and it's very important to me because I am in a difficult situation, and I know that you have experienced some in your past, and we're going to get to that. So Tony Suggs is someone, you guys, who has made a mark in boxing. I don't know if you guys have heard, but I'm pretty sure if you're familiar with boxing at all, you know who this gentleman is to my left. This young man here has made a mark not only in the ring but outside of the ring. He has a book. He has an amazing story. Amazing story, you guys. This is not no fluff. This is somebody who has amazing story, who has turned his life around. This book is about redemption and triumph. This is a person who has redeemed himself from some things that we're going to get into during the show. And Tony, I'm so proud of you, man. I just really want you to know that I'm proud to have you on the show today. I studied you. I looked over some things. I read over your bio and stuff like that. Looked at some YouTube clips, and I was so impressed with not just your hands and your, because I heard you was whooping ass in the ring. They was ducking you. They was ducking you, man. I heard from some insiders in the boxing world that it was political, kind of sort of how Tony Suggs was being ducked because your name wasn't quite the ticket, you know, so to speak, to bring the big card, but your hands and your ability was bigger than that. Right. So
yeah.
I give you credit for that, and I know
Thank you, bro.
Yeah,
I
most
appreciate
definitely. And then you the homeboy from this city, so you represent it very well. So let's get right into it, man. So just tell me one thing: who is Tony Suggs? Who is Tony Suggs?
Well, Tony Suggs is I'm a person that cares, you know. I'm a caring person, you know. But then at the same time, I'm 100% man, you know. I take care of my family. I take care of my responsibilities. And the most important thing people need to know about me is that I'm a God-fearing man. I love the Lord, you know, through all that. I love the Lord first, you know. So, and but at the same time, in loving the Lord don't make me no punk or no sucker. So I don't never want anybody to get that twisted. And I feel a lot of young people feel like they got to be soft to love the Lord. But if you ask me, Jesus Christ was the ultimate soldier, you know, a warrior,
a soldier.
you know, because, I mean, who else going to march through what he marched through, go through what he went through, didn't have to go through it, but went through it for us, you know, and, you know, he didn't rat no one out, you know, he didn't give up or lie and say it wasn't him, and you know,
right. And
he
so a
just
lot
took
of people,
on it all.
I like that because a lot of people think that if you have a spiritual balance that you got to be soft or a tambourine shaker or something crazy. It doesn't mean that. You can be what you want to be and still love God and also know that Jesus was that dude. So yeah. And still is. So on another note, what got you involved in boxing? Like, what made you first want to become a boxer? Because I know that you had played other sports.
Yeah.
So why boxing?
And I was good in all sports. I was an athlete, but ever since I remember, I was a daddy's boy. I loved my father to death. Rest in peace, William Suggs. And my father was my role model, and I came out of the womb throwing jab, right cross. Jab, right cross. That's all I remember.
That's what he was telling you?
Yeah, holding up his hand, jab, right cross. But he was training me. I wasn't conscious, but he was conscious of what he was doing. He was training me to be a southpaw.
So how old were you, though? Let's back up a little bit. How old? Because for the people, just remember, a lot of people don't know this story. So we're going to pick it apart a little bit. So you talking about 3 years old and you was jab, right cross.
Jab, right cross. Anytime cousin, friend, family member, whatever come over the house to play, and if they was my size or somewhere near my size, I had to fight. My father wanted to make sure I knew how to fight and take care of myself.
Yeah,
that was very important to my father. And then as I got a little older, I understood, it started coming to me why it was so important to him because he was the North Carolina State Penitentiary champ.
Got you. So he was in North Carolina. You was in North Carolina at one time?
No, that's where my grandparents, and when my mother and father got in fights, split up, that's where they would
That's what-
send me
gotcha,
most of the
gotcha,
time.
gotcha.
They live with my grandmother or my uncle
Same story.
in North Carolina.
Same story. I was sent to Virginia. Same thing. Every summer,
Yeah.
as soon as school let out, it wasn't 2 weeks after that. I was already on the Greyhound tagged.
Yeah.
You know, they used to tag you when you were a kid,
Yeah.
so they keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
Put you on, tag you, put you on the bus like luggage, and send you straight down there. So that's what happened to me as well. I relate. So, getting on to it, let's talk a little bit about the history of your boxing. Like, we know that you were 30-0 as an amateur, from what I read. Is that correct?
Before I lost my first amateur fight. Yeah.
30-0.
Yeah.
How many knockouts? 30.
Yeah, I knocked everybody.
Everybody
out.
had to go.
Yeah. When I was until I lost my first fight to Mickey Sampson. I always remember that. You know,
Yeah.
from round one.
Yeah.
Mickey Sampson. Yeah.
Oh, from round one.
Yeah.
Shout out to round one. Yeah, I remember that. So,
Yeah.
okay. So it was a local boxer.
Well, yeah, at first, that's before I started going to nationals and regionals. You know, I was novice and I'm junior.
So
you
as
know,
novice, I
therefore-
heard you was like 130 something and
No, as my whole overall record at the end of my amateur boxing career, I was 138-12.
with 116 knockouts.
Yeah, correct. and
Man, that's a lot of knockouts, Tony.
Yeah.
So you think your father gave you the skill to put, because it's an art to, it's not just about power and knocking somebody out, right? It's a skill. It's a certain thing you have to be able to be a knockout artist. So what perfected that for you? Like your father gave you that jab there across.
You gotta be strong. You know, my father taught me, and I was leading with my power hand because a long time the teacher used to say, "That is not your right hand. That's your left hand." And I'm like, "You lying?" My father said, you know, if my father said it, then it was true.
Yeah.
You know, but he wanted me to be a southpaw because he knew people had harder time fighting southpaws.
Yeah.
But then, you know, he taught me to torque, the twist, how to,
Right.
you know, the torque in your body when you throw your punches. And then my father always challenged me to push-up contest. You know, so
He really was building you.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to you.
I didn't really know what was going on then, but my father was building that machine.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I'm hearing. Like you was
building-
young, so you
yeah.
couldn't have had an understanding. Like when did you start getting challenged to these pushes? Like was you like 14,
I was
15?
like, no, of course not. I was like 4. You know, I
You was
remember
4?
all this. Yeah, 4 years old doing push-ups and jab. 3 and 4 years old. Yeah. So and you know, I was my father's first and only child at that time. I had a little brother come 4 years later.
Okay.
You know, but
So let's go a little bit further now that you're going to what they call novice,
yeah, you junior, novice, then open.
then open, which means pro.
Yeah. Open is the stage before you get pro.
Right before
Open is like the regional fighters that go to the regionals, the nationals, the Olympics, the Pan American Games, you know,
Right.
international tours representing United States.
So once you got past now you doing your thing, you headed towards the Olympics.
Yeah.
Now you starting to be the talk of the town.
Right.
Right. So who did you have to beat to get this? You know, what made people say, "Oh, he's on our radar"? Like, you know, because you wasn't a big name coming up. You didn't come from like the Floyd Mayweather camp to where uncles, fathers, everybody boxing. So you wasn't really in the shadows of anyone, so to speak. What made you even believe that you could go and become this, you know, Olympic? Because I'm hearing that you was the name in the Olympics that everybody was talking about, the man to beat, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right? That's what, 88?
Yeah, I got there because I became the talk of the town because the DMV was breeding some co-champions, you know, some national quality fighters. DC was a fight town, and the guy, I looked up to this guy, Paul London Walker, and I looked up to this guy. He was 125 at the time. He was like the world champ, you know, so he was like the man.
Right.
At that time, and I was a novice, and I remember I used to love how this dude fight. I wanted to throw hooks like him. So I got to a point in my career where he had moved up to my weight class, and I knew that in order to be the best, I had to beat the best. And when it came time for me and him to fight at Hillcrest, you know, I was ready for it. I had been preparing for it the whole time, and when I fought him, I knocked him out in the second round.
Are you serious?
And when I went to the Nationals, because the Nationals hear everything before you get there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so when I got to the Nationals, I mean, it's a great thing to represent the United States.
Yeah.
And go to the Nationals. So when I got to the Nationals, they were like, "Oh, that's the dude that knocked out Paul." So
that was the name that
and
got
Paul
you the
was like
name.
a world champion back then.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what got you the name, and everybody
Yeah.
that put you on the radar, so to speak.
And then when I got there, I was knocking out everything in the Nationals, and Roosevelt Sanders, the Olympic coach that year, had me on the radar. He didn't like me at first because I guess he was wondering where I came from. This
Right.
young fighter, you know, making the national team in '87. Where he come from? Because most of these guys that's on the team came up from juniors and, you know,
Stuff
all
like
the
that.
way through. Yeah.
So okay, fast forward. Now we headed towards the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
It's 88.
80 is it? Yeah.
It's 87.
87.
It's 87. Okay,
Yeah.
now it's getting a little tricky. Everybody is expecting you to do your thing.
Yeah.
So had you got into the bout with your personal situation yet, or not so
I
much?
mean, not so much. I was, you know,
Dipping and dabbing.
dipping and dabbing, but keeping it together because I'm going to the Olympics. I'm the man to beat. You know, I'm the man. You know, I'm getting up. I live in Alexandria, Virginia. Getting up every Saturday morning, running 16 miles, running from Alexandria to Haynes Point, around the park, and back home.
16 miles.
Yeah.
I
But
thought you was gonna say 6.
No,
you said 16
16.
miles. Okay
you know,
then.
doing push-ups every night, push-ups and sit-ups every night before I go to bed. As soon as I get up, say my prayer, push-ups, sit-ups every morning. You know, I mean, I was
Conditioning yourself.
Yeah, I fell in love with boxing, and you know, it was my passion. It was my sport. I had found me, and because of all the childhood anger and guilt, shame that I had suppressed inside me, you know, when I got in the ring, I could release it on my opponent, and then after during the fight, I really wanted to hurt them. I really wanted to dismember them. But then, you know, when the fight was over, I felt sorry for them because all that anger wasn't really geared towards them.
But you used it actually. You used your frustration to fuel some of those power punches that was putting people in the KO status.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's 87. Tragedy strikes, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about that a little bit. This is a tough one. So you lose a infant to SIDS, right? This is your firstborn?
No, my second.
Secondborn.
Yeah.
So now, this is tragedy, of course, and we're facing Olympic trials. Everybody's betting on Tony Suggs. What happened next?
I was the man to beat. 1987, I just won the gold medal in the Olympic Festival, the U.S. Olympics. That's where they start winding down who they going. It's politics, or who they going to pick and choose to go to the World Games, you know. And I had to go to Colorado to fight a rubber match against Patrick Bird, which I had just beat him in the Olympic Festival.
Okay. So you were familiar with him.
Yeah, and I go to Colorado Springs to fight him in the rubber match to, you know, be the man to represent the United States for the 1988 Olympics. I get there that night, and in the wee hours of the morning, my cousin Tyrone called me and told me my daughter died. And I'm like, man, don't be calling me playing like that, you know, all early in the morning like this, you know, man. Because he was stationed up there in the Army in Fort Carson. And he said, man, I'm serious, man. I'm about to come over there. He came over there and told me that. And I always knew God because and that's one thing I applaud my mother for. She always instilled the word of God in us, even as she made us walk to church. You know, so I always knew God. You know, and when I got in the ring, I went to the neutral corner, kneeled down, said my prayer, you know, for my opponent and myself. and came out and took care of business. And so I wanted to let the world know that you could be a knockout artist, you could be cool, thorough, whatever, but still be a God fearing man.
Got you.
So
that's important. I believe that as well. Of course, everybody that knows me knows that. So that's very important. So that's some of the things that you use to pull you through. But
Right.
prior to that, is that one of the things, I'm assuming that was one of the times that caused you to stray from boxing and kind of like fall away?
Yeah, when my daughter died, I just got mad with God, mad with the world, because I felt like, why would God allow me to go through this after all I had been through as a child? And I just wanted to make it better for my kids. I had a boy and a girl. I was going to win the gold medal in the Olympics because I wasn't going to let nobody stop me. I was going to, get them the big white house with the picket fence and the dog.
Right.
I already had a boy and girl. That's all I wanted. So,
Right.
I was going to give them the American dream. And then when my daughter died, that wasn't part of my plan.
Right.
But like I say, my plan, because that's what I had planned for my life. But God seen I could go through a little bit more. I can endure a little bit more. I didn't know I could at that time.
Right. You only know your strength when you test it.
Yeah.
So okay, so then that's extremely tough, right? For anybody, that's tough. So now this has happened. Do you leave and say, okay, no more boxing right now. I got to go home, take care of personal business, and then you just kind of sort of what?
Crack was just hitting the script. Crack was just coming out, and and the older guys took to me, took me under their wing.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt, and for real, I felt privileged to be hanging with them, not knowing they was feeling privileged to hang with me.
Right.
Because they was the older, cooler guys, had cars and, girls and dressed nice, all the, designer clothes and sold drugs and all that,
Mm-hmm.
But instead of them, telling me not to use drugs, they was giving it to me, using it with me, and but I noticed all the guys over the city was like, man, so and so drug dealer or whatever, he bought me a pair of boxing shoes and told me get off the drugs for real. Oh, drug dealer gave me some money and told me go buy me something for boxing, but it was like a different animal out Virginia. The
Right.
drug dealers, come on, use some drugs with me, and that's one of the things that encouraged me and inspired me to be something different in the community.
Gotcha.
But when my daughter died, I just got mad with God, mad with the world, and I called myself gonna pay God back.
Yeah, I heard that in one of your previous interviews.
Yeah,
you gonna pay God
the
back.
big-
Okay, that's cool.
God
Let's hear
needed
this.
me. God needed me,
Right.
to represent.
And you gonna show him by not representing no more.
Yeah, I'm gonna just destroy myself, my career, everything. I'm gonna smoke drugs and
Cut up.
Yeah, just in and out of jail, and that's what happened. I
That's
used all the
interesting.
drugs.
That's interesting.
I did all the crime. I mean, I did everything you could think of.
So I heard you mention selling and using.
Yeah, because I was a crackhead, and then my last time getting locked up, and when I got clean in '89 from using drugs, a buddy of mine came fresh home. I want to get a female. A buddy of mine gave me a little something. Here, go take care of your business.
Right,
and,
right.
I went and took care of my business. I had something left after that, so I sold it and took it back to the dude. Look, sell me a working joint, and
Right,
then
right.
and that let me know that I could sell drugs. So I started selling drugs and became a real big time drug dealer.
And this is while in the midst of still at the boxing quest, or have you just kind of chilled out from boxing?
No. Matter of fact, at this time I had turned pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had turned pro. And then
And so you was battling your addiction while boxing.
yeah,
While boxing.
I started going deep into drugs from '87 to '89.
Got you for 2 years.
Yeah, it went hard. I mean, because if you know me and know my life story and how I roll, I go hard. I go hard in everything I do. And so I went hard, them 2 years
Right,
on
right.
crack, smoking crack, but I had 2 years of PCP, 2 years of weed. You know,
so you was all over the place.
Yeah.
So where was the people? Did you have not one person in your camp that was like, nah, we not having that because this is Tony Suggs, and so you know I can't allow this to happen to him. Like you didn't have that one person, evidently not in your.
But I had my coach Smitty. You know, my coach Smitty was a big role model for me. You know, he taught me the meaning of love and caring about a person because the judge used to say, Mr. Smith, when you gonna stop, you know, coming supporting this dude, trying to keep him out of jail, trying to keep him out of trouble. You know, he was like telling the judge. The judge was telling Smitty in so many words that I'm just gonna be a crackhead for the rest of my life, and you should just give up on him. Wash your hands with him.
Wow.
You know, but Smitty believed in me. You know, and today I always think about Smitty, and wish Smitty could see me now.
Yeah,
you know,
he passed away.
Yeah.
So see now, we're gonna get to that because the redemption part of your life is what I'm headed to because I'm so impressed with you because I understand the strength. Like when you mentioned a dealer has addiction just like a person who's doing drugs.
Right. Exactly.
I can relate to that because I was on the other side, right? And so what I learned is that I became addicted to the money, the women, the fast living, the things that you could purchase that you can't just readily go and do unless you're some big rapper or have some big contract or something of that nature. And so when you get to a certain level, then you get to doing things that you feel you can't do without at that time. That's the addiction.
Right.
And the adrenaline rush of not getting caught and taking risk, it becomes like an addiction. And so for you to say that, I was identifying with that because like I said, I got real into your story. So before we go any further, I want to play this clip for you guys, and then I'm going to let Tony address this clip. It's the short clip, Jacob, of Tony. And we'll be right back right after this clip. Spotlight over the city.
In 1992, when Judge Ken said 8 years, and I stood there because I'm like, I'm Tony Suggs, 8 years, suspend 7 time served or something. And when he said go with the bailiff, I'm like, hold up, you forgot to suspend some of these years, you know. And it made me realize at that time, you know, when I went down to the bullpen, you know, I called my mother, you know, just thinking that I'm gonna get some of that affection, some of that sympathy, some of that, my baby, that motherly love type thing. You know, she told me that's what you get for living like you was living. You know, and I broke down, started crying. And I immediately knew from that point it was on me. You know, and then it was just something about that time I started recognizing and seeing that everybody around me that used to cater to me and help me and, you know, just cater to me. You know, I burnt all them bridges. Coming to Sober Living just taught me about myself, taught me about my addiction, you know, why I do the things I do, and what I needed to do to change. And my thing was that I get all the information when I'm in here, but then when I get back out there, I divert back to the same person that I was that got me here. And what happened when I got released in, what was it, 94, when I got locked up in 92, that I had to change. All the information that I learned while I was in here, I had to take it back out there and remain the same. Like they say sometimes, they say jail saved people's lives, and I feel like jail saved my life. You know, I want to show people that people can change because I was a crud ball crackhead, you know. I did what it took to get high, you know. Rob, stole, cheat, whatever, you know. And a lot of times, you know, I thought I wasn't hurting nobody but myself, but I was hurting my family, loved ones, people that cared about me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Spotlight of the City with my guest Tony Suggs, aka The Beast, aka Knock That Ass Out. What's going on? Tony.
What's up, Chan?
That clip, man, it resonated because I was like, man, so a lot of times people go in and then they get cleaned up. So like when you went in, I noticed that you would come back out, and then you would kind of get back into that same rut. So
Because
what?
it was addiction. I was addicted to the drugs, to the lifestyle, and like I said earlier, I go hard at everything I do. I went hard at being a drug addict. I didn't care. Who knew I was a drug addict? It took too much energy to duck and hide and try to act like you wasn't. So I had that effort attitude.
Right. So I noticed that you went hard and everything. So then what was that one thing that finally got Tony on the right path? Well, because it wasn't jail, evidently. What was that one thing that said, okay, enough is enough. I got to get this right?
Because I never was a bad person. I just became a victim of my environment. The people I hung around. I let my friends choose me. I didn't choose them. I
like that.
And just learning about myself. Every time I get locked up, I enroll myself in sober living program to, counseling, therapy, to learn about my addiction, because I just knew and felt how a person has so much going for them but choose to do the wrong thing, And I knew, like, that last time in 1989 when I got myself together, I was laying in the jail cell looking up at the ceiling, looking at these four walls around me, laying up on that concrete slab with a little thin mat on it, saying, God, I know you got more in store for me than this, using drugs, in and out of jail. From 1987 to 1992, I got locked up 7 times, and
Wow.
and I knew I was a much better person than what I was showing, and I made a promise to God, and I kept that promise to God. I asked God to help me get out of this mess that I was in, and I promise I'll do what I can do to make sure no young boy or girl make the same mistakes, the same decisions that I made. And since then, I've been keeping my promise to God.
And so I love that. That's where we're headed now. But you also, a lot of people don't know that not only were you feared in the ring, but you was also at one time a sparring partner with the great Sugar Ray.
Yes.
How did that feel? Like when you first knew you was his sparring partner, did you feel I'm gonna make him feel it, or I'm gonna take it easy on him, or I'm a little nervous of him? How did you feel that first training bout, like that first day? How did you feel?
Scared to death.
You was scared. I can imagine, right?
Man, I was scared to death.
Yeah.
First when they first announced he was coming out of retirement, and they showed him fighting Tommy Hearns on the news, I'm like, dang, I'm going to try out, because to get chosen as a sparring partner, we had to try out.
Okay.
And like they picked people from the crew. They, due to the fact he was fighting Hector Camacho was a southpaw. They needed a southpaw.
Yeah.
I was a southpaw. I wasn't fast and flashy like Hector.
But you was a hard-hitting southpaw.
Yeah, and I went to spar with Ray in over round 1 again.
Okay.
And they liked me. They chose me.
Yeah.
But no disrespect to Ray, but when we got out to Arizona and I was sparring with Ray, they had a little special meeting with me. Suggs, come here, man. Ray the champ, and he fighting for a title, right? So, man, you need to lighten it up a little bit.
That's what I was wondering, because I know you known to
like,
knock people out, so I'm wondering,
like,
did you take it easy on them a little
they're
bit?
like, well, here you go, let me tell you. They're like, Ray the champ, we need you to lighten up on them a little bit. And they say, Ray likes sparring you because, you stand in front of I don't do a lot of running, moving. You ain't got to look for me because I'm going to be right there in your chest. Mm-hmm. They say, Ray likes sparring with you. Because, you don't do a lot of moving and running, But I tell you what, we're going to pay you $300 extra a week just to light it up. On top of what I was already, so I'm like.
What they say, you got to chill out a little bit, man. You going to hurt Ray.
And if Ray asks you how he looking, say good.
Right.
So
that's the message you got, right?
So I was like, okay, I can do that. So that's what we did. But I mean, man, but Ray is a very crafty, sharp fighter. I learned some things from Ray, and then on top of that, I also learned some things from Adrian Davis, one of the DMV, legendary trainers, one of the best trainers that I've ever known through my history of boxing.
Yeah.
So that was the best, one of the best boxing experiences I've ever had.
So speaking of boxing experiences and great fighters, who would you feel is your favorite fight of all times? And I know you experienced a lot of legends through the times, and you sparred.
It's a tie with me. Yeah.
Who would you say?
Between Marvin Hagler and Earn Pryor.
Earn Pryor. Man, a lot of people don't remember Earn
The
Pryor.
Hawk. See, yeah.
Man, and why those two? Why not a Pernell Whitaker? Or, I thought you was gonna say Pernell Whitaker.
Just my style.
Your style. They reminded you of
just
yourself.
my style. How they came forward, how they banged. They was bangers, and if you're gonna be a banger, then you need to study bangers. You need to, emulate your style. And I wanted to emulate my style after Earn Pryor or Marvin Hagler. Come forward type fighter, banging all the way through. I realized that pressure bust pipes. I made sure I stayed in tip-top shape to go to throw punches from beginning to end.
Yeah, you surprised me with that one. So let's talk a little bit about this book now. And you also now have a documentary coming out, which is actually out. It's going to be showing tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, but let's talk about this book, and we'll get to that. What inspired you to even write a book? Like, of course, I know your story is a book in itself, but what made you say, you know what, I'm going to put this on paper?
Because every time I got locked up, like I was saying, I enrolled in sober living unit, and part of the therapy, you had to write your life story. And every time I wrote my life story, you had to read it. And every time I read it, somebody would say, "Man, your story sounds like a book." Mm-hmm. And then when I get out of the sober living unit, they may send me to the Phoenix House or Second Genesis, and that's part of the therapy. Man, your story sounds like a book. And I always kept hearing it, and I'm like, God, you can't be telling me to write a book. I barely graduated high school. I was an LD student. I had learning disabilities. They call it IEPs now, but it wasn't no such thing as IEPs when I was going to school.
Right.
But I'm like, God, I can't spell well. I don't read well. How I'm gonna write a book?
Right.
And then I got invited back to this. It was a good news thing in church where you go to church. It was called Good News Ministry, and they do this big banquet every year, and I got invited back to speak, and my church was a part of the prison ministry, so a lot of my church members supported me in it, and one of my church members came to me after I spoke at the Good News Mission, and said, Tony, your story sounds like a book. You ever thought about writing a book? I say, people always tell me that my story sounds like a book, but God know that I don't read that well. I can't spell that well, and if it's His will for me to write a book, then He will send me somebody to do it. And she said, well, here I am.
Just like that.
Yeah, and I said, well,
yeah, I love it.
You ever wrote a book? She said, yeah, I wrote a couple of books. And then I got to writing. I'm psyched. I started writing. I'm like, how do I start? She said, just start writing from beginning to end.
That's it.
As soon as I started writing, her daughter came down with some kind of rare heart disease, and then eventually passed away. Rest in peace, Crystal. Thank you, Miss Grady, for inspiring me to write the book. But and passed away, and so I couldn't, really ask her to finish helping me.
Book. Right.
She got to take care of her business. But I'm like, man, I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. Ain't nobody gonna stop me now. I started writing. I'm gonna keep on writing. So I kept on writing.
So you did it yourself at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, she just said right from beginning to end. And I started right from beginning to end, and then I had to be in the mood to write.
Right.
I wanted to be because I wanted to be real transparent. I
Right.
wanted to be real. I wanted people to feel what I was writing because I knew that I wasn't the only person that went through a lot of the things I went through. Everybody can relate to this book, and
That's very true. That's
yeah,
very true.
And
I love the candidness. Like that's what people can relate to. And I know when I wrote my book, it's an autobiography as well. And so it was therapy for me.
Yeah.
I learned some things about myself, believe it or not, writing a book that I had kind of forgot about and didn't realize how it had affected me.
Yeah.
So did you go through some of those same?
I went through a lot of that.
Same
I
thing.
had to revisit a lot of pain, a lot of that guilt, shame that I had suppressed, pushed under the rug, And but then, like I said, I made a promise to God that I would do what I could do to help some young boy or girl not to go through the things I went through. And writing that book is a part of that process because, it's so many kids that got all that guilt and shame and they keep it bottled up.
Yep.
And that's the same stuff they keep bottled up now that they eventually start using drugs too later, become violent too later, all kinds of unhealthy behaviors. Yeah.
So I'm really proud of you, Tony, because it takes a lot of courage, first of all, to tell a story. A lot of people judge, of course, when they think different than what they think life should present. They don't know. That's why I wanted you to talk about your daughter, as painful as that may be, or your child, I'm sorry, as painful as that may be, because I know that that's what triggered you to really go over the edge. And everybody has a point, a breaking point, where they could become just that or worse. Some people suicidal, that kind of stuff. That's a big deal right now in the community. Suicide,
Right.
and all those things. I'm gonna do a show. I'm gonna do a 2-show series on suicide because I lost a good friend of mine to suicide. So these are the things that can happen in life. Life don't always deal you the hand that you want or whatever you expect.
Or the hand you think you're going to get.
Like
or
what you expect.
Like
right?
with me, I thought God was moving me in that direction of going to the Olympics and winning the Olympics and giving my kids everything that I didn't have.
Right.
But
well,
God
he's using you now because how many years have you been clean?
28 years.
That's what I'm talking about. So that's strength. See, this is a warrior. This is why I say you're a warrior on and out, in and out the ring. Right? And so did your book say the same thing. So to come out and be 28 years clean, check out this book, y'all. Make sure you get it. Barnes & Noble is on your site.
Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and also you can get on my website, www.thebeastwithinstc.com.
One more time for him.
www.thebeastwithin.
Yeah, you can hold it up.
The Beast Within. STC for Still the Champ.com. You zoom in on that. It's a must read. Everybody like it, love it. I get big props about it because I'm real transparent, and then so many people relate to it. I could be in a store. I done been in clubs, and people just come to me, grab me, hug me, and start crying and say, "Your story was my story. I related to it. I understood it."
Very relatable. Yeah. Very relatable. It takes a lot of courage. Like I'm saying, you're a voice for people who can't speak that loud. You're a voice for people who don't have that courage. Yeah. A lot of people hide behind addictions. A lot of people hide behind, and they're ashamed even when they come out.
They're ashamed. A lot of people now that
they won't talk about it. They're just ashamed.
I knew they was crackheads, but they won't talk about. But that's not for me. I only can talk about me and mine.
Right.
And the only thing that gave me the courage to write the book, well, my mom, I could never have written this book if my mom and dad were still alive, and God know that. I guess that's why He took them. He brought them home because a lot of parents got to realize the impact we got on our kids' lives. And a lot of, and I ain't saying for kids to go out and start blaming everything on the mama and daddy, but we got to try and raise our kids as healthy as possible. Because there's all those dysfunctional, unhealthy behaviors that kids suppress and wind up using drugs to suppress that feeling.
Or even
that
worse,
guilt, shame, and pain.
Or even worse. I did a documentary. Actually, I'm just now getting it fully edited. It's called Damaged Goods, Is It Me? And damaged goods, and the question, is it me, is because people assume that it's everybody else and they don't have issues, but we all have some issues that we're dealing with from childhood. Something has happened, whether it's rape, molestation, abandonment, physical, mental abuse. Something has went on with you that brings that forward.
I dealt with all that.
Yeah, I dealt with a lot of that. I dealt with a lot of that as a child, and so that's what made me go back and say I learned it reading my own story.
Right.
And I said, you know what, I need to deal with this with other people because I'm all about trying to like yourself, trying to reach for other people. You know, I'm a motivational speaker, that kind of thing. So this is what I like to do myself to try to do. So that's why I was excited to have you on. Shout out to Lyric for booking you, Lyric Hawkins for booking you on the show. Because when I listened to your story, I listened to it a while ago when she sent me a clip, and I called her back, and I said, man, I like him. He's impressive. Like, this dude is candid and he's real, and he has a real true story and a heart for people, and he loves God. That was all I needed to hear. Yeah. So that was just like yeah, right? And so now, fast forward, we have a documentary coming on you tomorrow. It'll be, again, you can view it tomorrow. Everybody come out and support this man. He has really triumphed. This is redemption and triumph that you're listening to. So I want you guys to come out and support. Where is it? It's at the Burke Center, right?
At the U.S. Naval Burke Theater.
Burke Theater. And that's on Pennsylvania Avenue.
701 Pennsylvania Avenue.
701 Pennsylvania Avenue, the Burke Theater.
Yeah.
And what time?
The name of the documentary is called Out of the Ring, Still in the Fight.
Out of the Ring, Still in the Fight.
Maniko Pathelemy.
I like that. Out of the Ring, Still in the Fight.
Yeah.
So when the title Still in the Fight came up, what does that exactly mean to you? When it says out of the ring, of course, that means you're not boxing anymore. Still in the fight.
Still in the fight mean I'm still fighting, but just in a different way. Not with gloves. I'm not throwing blows, but my blows are making an impact in my community, doing what I can do to make sure no young boy or girl travel down the road that I traveled down. Yeah. And I promise to God I will help somebody make it to the Olympics. But what I realized, I used to think make it like this, but making it to the Olympics can be being successful in what you do, what you love, your passion, your gift. So everybody need to go for it and don't let dream robbers rob you of your dream, your goal.
Right. That's right. Everybody does have something in them that equals success, depending on what you consider successful. You know what I mean? I always consider success living your life on your own terms and not harming no one.
Yeah.
Living your life on your own terms and not harming anyone. I call that being successful. You don't have to be rich to do that. You don't have to be wealthy to do that. You just have to be happy. And I'm happy with mine. I'm happy with hearing what your story is. And so please, everybody, come out to the Burke Center. What time does the movie premiere? The documentary premiere.
The doors open at 6 o'clock for VIP, and then for general admission. Be coming in shortly after. We're going to have a nice time. And tomorrow will be my first time even seeing the documentary. Maniko wouldn't let me get a little sneak peek on it. So I'll be, but I got confidence in her. I got faith in her that it's going to be a great documentary. We were just on CTV yesterday, and hearing her explain what the documentary was about, I was impressed. I'm like,
you like, that's me?
Yeah,
yeah, Tony, it's you though, man. Like, you that dude. Like, at the end of the day, you that dude in and out the ring. What you did makes you that beast, not just in the ring. Yeah, you knocked people out. Yeah, you was a contender that was to be dealt with. But you also a contender out here now. You're helping a lot of people, including myself. I was really inspired by your story.
Thanks,
extremely inspired by your story. And it takes a lot of courage. Like I said, a lot of people will not do what you're doing. Now you're working with the youth, and you're dealing. Let's talk. I got a few minutes. Let's talk a little bit about your center. You have a foundation.
No, I will. I'm in process of putting a foundation together. I got Tony Lopez, Radcliffe Thomas, Dawu Rollins. I got a lot of Jackie Surratt, a lot of positive men in the community that do a lot of good, positive things. We always draw each other into what we doing, without, and it's a bunch of men that just got love for one another, don't hate on one another, and I think that's how men supposed to roll.
That's how real men supposed to roll.
You
Hate
know,
shouldn't even
instead
be in
of
the
hating.
vocabulary of a real man.
But I go around to youth detention centers, jails, rec centers, prisons, schools. I'm at schools all the time, you know, sharing my story, my testimony. And then I do another sort of speaking engagement called Shattered Dreams. How if you use drugs, sell drugs, any form, gonna shatter your dreams from, you know, help deter you from pursuing your purpose in life.
And yes, and we have to wrap it up, Tony, and I love it. When I say I love it, I love it. So, real quick, where can they find you? Facebook, Tony Suggs.
Anthony Suggs Sr. and Tony Suggs.
How about on Instagram? You on IG?
Yeah.
Oh.
The Beast, Tony the Beast Suggs.
Tony the Beast Suggs, IG, Anthony Suggs, Tony Suggs on Facebook. Make sure you guys check them out, and please come out and support. Tomorrow is the documentary. I will definitely be out there to support.
And then we're going to be at Alley Cats tomorrow night, the documentary release party. Come out and party with me.
And enjoy.
Let's kick it.
Let's do it.
At Alley Cats.
At Alley Cats. Okay, that's the one and only Tony Suggs, you guys. Give it up for Tony Suggs. Thanks again, Tony, for coming on. The knockout artist, a.k.a. The Beast, a.k.a. Mr. Let's Get It. I love it. Love hard, live good, you guys.
bro,
God
for
first.
having me on.
Not a problem. Love it. It was an honor, my man.
I was a daddy's boy. You know, I love my father to death. You know, I always wanted to please my father, make my father happy, make him proud of me. And even today, I still remember, and I can hear him 50 years later holding up his hand saying, jab, jab, right cross, jab, jab, right cross, teaching me how to box. He always had me doing a lot of push-ups. And that wound up making me real strong, even as a child. So by the time I started boxing, I was naturally a knockout artist. You know, my first 20 fights, I was 20-0 with 20 knockouts as an amateur. And, you know, I went on to becoming the #1 ranked amateur in the country, #4 in the world, 138 wins.